my name is Julie, and I work for the University of Alaska Fairbanks Cooperative Extension Service. And so Cooperative Extension is basically the outreach arm of the university. So my job with Cooperative Extension is to take research-based information and make sure that people in the communities who need that information can get it. So we have two topics this evening. The first one is radon. That'll take about 20 minutes. I just have a presentation on what it is. And then the second topic is the We Can program. And these two are ones that we were going to do on Saturday, but with basketball games and other activities that were going on, that wasn't the best time to do it. So we've shifted to tonight. And the We Can is actually a series of 4 programs. The first one is tonight. And so each time we'll talk about different strategies that are important for health, particularly around nutrition and around physical activity. But what I think is one of the more important parts of this is setting goals. So we'll also be talking about goal setting and what is it that you want to achieve over this time period, and try and figure out some small manageable steps that you can do each week that you want to do that will help you toward your goal, overarching goal, I should say, of being healthier. So let's start with radon. Now, can you hear me okay am I coming through clearly?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
And
yes.
I can, yeah, okay. And so as I switch slides, the first one, when I switch it right now, let me know, how long did it take to load?
Immediately.
Yeah.
Immediately? Okay, good. So hopefully that will happen. If it gets slow, let me know, okay? I can see you. Can you see me as well as the slides?
Yes.
Okay. So we're talking about radon. Well, what is radon? Radon is a colorless, odorless, radioactive gas, and it comes from uranium. Uranium is on the ground, is underneath the ground in many spots around the world, and particularly in Alaska. It is also here, and as it decays, it sends this radioactive gas up. And so radon is actually in the air around us as well. But because the air is huge, or the atmosphere is huge, it usually doesn't cause, it's not in large concentrations, so it doesn't cause an issue. So the radon gas is escaping through the soil from the bedrock below. It's in the air, it's in the groundwater, and it's in surface water as well. But we're talking more about how it is in the air, and particularly how much of a concentration of radon there might be in our homes or other buildings. So why is it a problem? Around 21,000 deaths per year are linked to radon. Most of these are people who are smoking, and so radon, and in conjunction with, if you're a smoker, or if you are in a place where you have secondhand smoke exposure, radon can increase your risk of getting lung cancer. But radon is also an issue for people who don't have lung cancer. And what we're looking at is, even though radon is all around us in the air and in the water, it's when those radon concentrations get too much. And what the EPA, the Environmental Protection Agency, says is that anything above 4 points of picocuries per liter is an issue. But what we do know is that your possibility of getting cancer, lung cancer specifically, increases the more time you spend where there are any radon amounts of gases. So what about in Alaska? The strongest concentrations of radioactive radon gas in Alaska are in the Yukon, Tanana areas, so around Fairbanks, North Star Borough, and just southeast of Fairbanks, and then also in the Matanuska, Susitna valleys. And these areas usually have the schist bedrock underlain by areas of uranium. And of course, as the uranium decomposes, the radon gas escapes into the atmosphere. But how does it get into a building? Every home is going to be unique. because there's a lot of different factors that come into how the radon gets into the home. But remember, it's a gas, so it doesn't take much of an opening in a building for that radon gas to seep into the house. And there are things involved in the construction or in the building itself that may cause more radon to be able to seep into the home. So when you look at the illustration on this slide, you see arrows. And notice that the ground on this particular diagram shows that there's ground on two sides of the little basement area where the washer and dryer are, and there are cracks in the foundation walls and in the floor. And all of those areas are surrounded by soil, so the gas can come into the home through those cracks. They also show that part of this home is just kind of on pillars or I don't know what the technical name for them is, above the ground. And again, the ground, if there's open floor joists, the gas can seep in through those opening areas, or other parts of the home that might be sitting just on solid ground can also cause areas for this gas to leak in. If you have sump pump pipes that are openings in your basement area or your crawl space, this may be where gases can seep into your home. Other kinds of construction details that allow any openings may also allow these gases to come in. Maintenance of your home is an issue. It might be something as simple as checking your dryer vent or your dryer itself and the opening of your dryer, and around the outside of your dryer, clothes dryer is what I'm talking about, there is a gasket. And if there are cracks in that gasket, it can actually cause what's called negative pressurization in the home. It's not enough that we feel it, but it is enough that it helps bring the air, it pulls in gases around the outside of the home or around the foundation up and into the house. Another thing that affects the gas being pulled into the house is simply that the home is warm. The ground around it is cold. And that is, warm air rises, and air as it warms gets pulled in. So just that fact that the house is warm and the ground is cold is going to bring more gas into the building. In this particular instance, we're talking about radon gas. I also mentioned pressurization of home on this list because another factor is if you put in HRV, heat recovery ventilation system, and depending upon how it's set, it may also be a factor in bringing gas, causing that negative pressurization and helping gas be pulled into the home and possibly causing unsafe levels of radon to accumulate in the home. Cavities in the wall is another issue that might cause gas to be pulled into the house or allow gas to come into the house. Gaps in suspended floor, gaps around service pipes. We already talked about cracks in walls. Hey, we live in Alaska. We're going to have cracks. Every time there's a seismic event, that sounds really important, right? Every time there's an earthquake or some kind of shifting, it can happen. If there's a flood, it can cause issues in the ground, or it can cause the ground to shift. And as the ground shifts, it can cause cracks and fissures to happen in our foundation walls and in our home that allow these gases to be brought in. But how do I know if radon is present? Well, the only way that you can know is to test. Because, again, you cannot smell it, you cannot see it, and you cannot taste it in the air. So the only way to know if we have radon is to test for it. And it's really important to test. If your neighbor has tested and found no radon, that's great. But it doesn't mean that that's the same problem that or the same finding that you're going to have in your house. Hatcher Pass is an area in the Mat-Su. A lady's home was being sold, and it was tested for radon, and it tested high. So she had to mitigate before that home sale could go through. Mitigate means do things to stop the radon from coming into the home. But, so a lot of her neighbors came and got test kits so that they could test as well. But just because she had radon in her home does not mean that her neighbors had radon, or it may mean that they had higher or lower concentrations of radon. So each individual home needs to be tested, because we can't make blanket statements that just because one person in the neighborhood has radon, that everybody is going to have it. And what they're testing for is picocuries per liter of radon, and that is a measure of air to find out how much of the radon gas is present. There are two types of tests, short-term and long-term, and we'll talk a little bit more about them. The picture that you see here is a long-term radon tester. This is from a home that had radon, high levels of radon in it. They did mitigate the home so that it brought it down, but they want to make sure that the levels that something doesn't happen, maybe an earthquake or whatever, that changes the cracks in the home or changes the ground. And so they monitor on a constant, continuous basis. So they have a monitor that plugs into the outlet and tells the level at any particular time of how much radon is in that home. So a short-term test goes from 2 to 90 days. There are many different types of those short-term tests. They are usually not as accurate as long-term tests, but if you do choose to use one of these tests, then it's best to do a short-term test, and then after a period of time do another short-term test. And usually that's when somebody's in a hurry. Maybe they are selling a home and the buyer has requested that a radon test be done. So you might test over a weekend for just 2 or 3 days, and that only gives you a snapshot of that particular period of time. So then it's important to do another one of those short-term tests. A long-term test is longer than 90 days, and there are a lot of different kinds. I showed you a plug-in monitor that's continuous. It shows what the radon level is in your home at all times. The type that's shown here is the ones we have available at the Extension office. They cost $25, and that includes the lab fee, which is important. Wherever you purchase a test kit, if you decide to do this in your home, you want to make sure, read the print on the back, make sure that you're buying the test kit as well as the lab results, because sometimes the test kits aren't very much, $10 or $15, but then you have to send it in to a lab for results, and that might cost more. So always read your labels. Even though we're not talking about food here, we are talking about health, and so reading labels is important. This particular monitor, Rich Seifert was a long-term person in charge of making sure people knew about radon in Alaska, contracted through the EPA, and he found this test kit and found that it gave good results. Some things that you need to consider when you're doing long-term testing is figuring out where you're going to place it, and I think we have another slide that talks about that. You need to look at, the best time to test is when your house is closed. That's why January was radon month, but we're still in February. Around this time of year, we usually have colder temperatures. Doors and windows are closed, so there's not a lot of airflow that might change the results of the test. What we're really looking to see is in a closed home how much radon accumulates. So no air conditioning that might push the air outside, or fans that might circulate the air in and out of the house. Where you want to put the test kit is on the lowest level of your home that you live in. So if you have a basement area under the ground level and there's a bedroom down in that level, then that is where you would want to put your test kit. Because, well, I should say, where do you think you spend the most time in a day in your home?
A bedroom?
In bed. Okay, I kind of gave that one away, didn't I? Most people it's in bed, but it may be in front of the computer screen. Maybe you work at home or you study at home and you're sitting there for 8 or 9 or 10 hours a day. Well, whatever room that you're in for the most time during that day at the lowest level of the house is where you would put your kit, your test kit, okay? Sometimes people will get 2 test kits if they are in a tri-level home, and they might spend a lot of time on one level in a bedroom, on another level where they do a lot of their sitting or working. And so they put their test kit, so put your test kit in the lowest level where you spend, or somebody in your family spends the most concentrated amount of time. Also at the level of where you breathe. So that might be if you're sitting down, it might be on a table that's about the size of where your head is. Or on the bedside stand next to your bed, because that's where your head would be laying when you're sleeping. And also test in the room where most of your time is spent in the home. What we're looking for is test results less than 4 picocuries per liter. And even if you get a low test result, then it's still important to test every 7 to 10 years. And that's if there's no ground interruption. But if there are earthquakes, or there's extreme drought, or there's flooding that can cause shifts in the soil, which might cause then cracks in your foundation or in your lower part of your basement or crawl space, that's when you need to test again. Or earthquakes. And if your test results, did you have a question?
No.
Okay. If your test results show more than 4 picocuries per liter, there are several things that you can do. Most of them are not majorly expensive. It's things like sealing the cracks in your cement slab and in your basement walls, or sealing your exposed ground in your crawl space, which may mean just putting 6 millimeter plastic down and making sure that it's overlapped and sealed wherever there's seams, and that it goes up the walls so that no gases can come in, and sealing that. It may mean, depending upon your home, that you may need to change the air pressure inside your home. So if you have a heat recovery ventilation system, checking to make sure that that's not causing negative pressurization in your home. It's a good thing to have. It helps get the ventilation going, but not if it's pulling in those radon gases into the house. Or it may mean that you have to do a little bit more extensive mitigation, and you have to excavate underneath the basement slab and put in some pipes with holes in that will draw the gas out around the basement and out and put it into the atmosphere instead of into your home. So this diagram is just a view of some of different radon mitigation options, and if you do have issues with that, I'm going to show you Art Nash's phone number. He is our current radon person that you would call and talk to about what you might need to do if radon is an issue after you've tested and found out what's going on. So scientists are really certain that radon risks are very important, are really high in causing cancer, and particularly in lungs, because if it's in the air, you're breathing it in, it's going into the lungs and going out again. And this diagram is from an EPA .gov pub online. So I'm Julie Cascio. This is my contact information. And Art Nash is our energy specialist with the Cooperative Extension. He's up in Fairbanks. And this is his contact information if you think you might have any questions or any problems with that. When you signed in today, your name will be put in a drawing for a test kit for radon. If you're not interested, just put a little mark beside that say you're not interested, and one person will be chosen, and I'll mail that test kit to you so that you can test your home. We'd really like you to, if you are at all thinking that maybe there's an issue, we didn't think there was that much of an issue, but Carl was telling me that he knew of people who have had radon, high levels of concentrations of radon in their home in the Valdez area. So testing would be a good idea. And the more, when you test, especially with our kits, that lab will send us information about the areas around the state so we can get updated information on where there might be problems. Any questions on radon? I know it's after 4 o'clock in the afternoon and it's probably nap time for everyone, but that was just a really quick overview, just to let you know that there is a problem and it is a really good idea to do it. Home stores usually have radon kits. I know In the past, I've picked one up at Lowe's or at Home Depot just to see what they had available. I didn't use those, but I know that they are available from those places. So if there are no questions, then we'll move on to the next part of our program today. Everybody stand up and stretch. Oh, come on, I can see you, remember. Everybody up. And put your arms up. You can, start walking in place a little bit. Got to get the air going. Move from side to side.
Do you find your own maybe?
So the next part of our program, are you ready for the next part of our program?
Yep.
Yes.
Good. Okay, this is, let me find my notes. This is the We Can program. Well, it's actually kind of a variation of We Can. Because I've changed it up just a little bit. But really it is, we can improve our health. And this goes along with the Healthier You program that you are participating in Valdez, that Carl is helping get going. This program is actually 4 sessions. So this is the first one, and it's kind of an overview of what the program is, why it started, what the issue is, and then we'll talk about some tips for more energy out expenditure and less energy in, and how we can make that. That's basically our nutrition component, and how we can get the most bang for our buck in terms of what we're eating. So we're going to start with, and this program, I should say, was developed by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, the National Institutes of Health, and the National Heart, Lung, and Blood Institute. And really it's used to address the growing problem of people being overweight in our country and the health issues that go along with that. I'm assuming that you all know where the restrooms are and the emergency exits, and so I don't have to cover that. Okay. So we're here today because we care about our family's health and well-being, and the goal of this program is to empower all of us to help ourselves and our families to begin to enjoy the benefits of a lifestyle that includes healthy eating and increased physical activity. And so what we want this program to do is it may help us start on the road that we want to take, but it can also reinforce healthy behaviors that we are already taking. And I'm sure that we all are doing some of that. So we're going to learn new skills for our families and ourselves to practice that really can be part of our whole set of lifetime behaviors. And that's one of the advantages of having it over 4 weeks, is so that even if the information I'm presenting is something that you already know, it may bring it together and help you choose the steps, the small steps that you want to take in order to make this part of your lifestyle. So the agenda that we're going to do is the welcome and warm-up. We kind of did a little bit of warm-up. And then I'll go in, but I want to go around and have everyone introduce themselves. Then the introduction is basically an introduction to the issue and what this program is going to be. We'll take another stretch break, and then we'll talk about eating well and moving more, and do some brainstorming, talk about what the challenges are that we might face, and how we can get some of these into our life. So I think that this next few slides, we have about 20 slides that I'm going to go through rather quickly, but they show how overweight and obesity has changed in the United States between 1985, and this just goes to 2008. That's the most recent map that I have to show you. But I think it's very enlightening because it really shows how this issue has become so prominent, and why it's become so prominent over the last couple of years, several years actually. So when we're doing this, we're using the BMI, the body mass index, which is a measure of an adult's weight in relation to his or her height. And it's specifically looking at that in kilograms. So that's what has been used. And this is the behavioral risk factor surveillance system that states can participate in. But what's interesting is it's changed a lot from 1985 through 2008. And if you just look at these maps that are here and the colors that are shown on the map, if there's white, that means there is no data. So in 1990, there were several states that didn't even participate in this survey. But now every state participates in this survey. And if you look down at the bottom where you have the key, light blue is less than 10% of people had a BMI of grade 30 or more. The medium blue was 10 to 14%, had problems with being greater than 30 BMI. The dark blue, 15 to 19% of the population. The yellow was 20 to 24%. The orange is 25 to 29% of people in the population in that state had issues with a high BMI. And red, the darkest color, is over 30%. So what I'd like you to do is watch specifically Alaska as I flip through these states and see how it's changed. So at first there's no data for Alaska. But in 1991, we begin to have data in Alaska. And if you can look out of the corner of your eye, notice across the United States how these colors are changing. And here's 2008. And the only state that has the least amount of people in this category of 30, a BMI of 30 or more is Colorado. So it's really, the risk factor is really increased dramatically. But why is it a problem? There are a lot of health problems associated with overweight and obesity. And these include things which I'm sure you already know: heart disease, high blood pressure, type 2 diabetes. We're seeing more and more of this, even in children. Asthma, low self-esteem, isolation, eating disorders, and there are just lots of other issues that go along with this. So why is this becoming such a problem? And there are really three factors that have been identified. Actually, there's many, many multiple causes, but they kind of lump them into these three categories. One is lifestyle changes that have been made over time. One is environment in which we live, and the other is our genes or genetics that we have. Some of them we can't control. Our genes are things that we inherit from our parents, which are going to define how our body shape is. We cannot control that. The thing that we have more chances of controlling are our lifestyle and maybe a little bit of our environments, but at least we can be aware of what's going on in our environments, even if we can't control avalanches or snowstorms. It's snowing outside right now, or winds, things that might make it a little more difficult for us to get outside to do some physical activity, or even have fresh fruits and vegetables in the middle of the winter. But the bottom line, even no matter which of these lifestyle factors you think might have more of an effect on this issue of obesity and overweight in our country, but the bottom line is that adults and children are taking in more energy, and we usually refer to that as calories, and calories is just a measurement of energy, than we are expending it, or energy out, as they like to say in this program. So energy in is what goes in our mouths, what comes in our bodies to give us energy, and then energy out are the things that we do during our life, our day-to-day lives, to use up that amount of energy that we've taken in. Why do you think that overweight and obesity have increased? Can you name any factors?
Processed food.
Processed food. What was the other one?
Busier.
Busier. How do you mean busier?
Like we spend more time in the schools and at work, and on TV.
Okay, so because they're busier, what are they doing less or more of?
They're spending more time sitting around on the computer at work, and less time walking and being active.
Okay, so there may be more sitting time than there is activity time, and research is showing now that the more you sit, even if you exercise your 30 minutes or 15 minutes a day, but you sit a lot at a desk or at a computer or watching television or whatever it is, that it can actually have negative effects on your body that outweigh that wonderful physical activity that you were doing. So thinking about our sitting time is really important, and I apologize, I did not turn off my phone. And it's my husband, he'll be very persistent, so we'll just put him over there. Any other ideas?
Fast food.
Fast food?
Not here, but in other cities.
Well, come on, there's fast food in Valdez. I know I've been at a place where I've gotten fish. Okay, fast food, what else? Think of anything else? Well,
just the American culture of we get what we want and we get it right now.
okay.
Really, if I want chocolate, there's somebody telling me I can't have a whole bunch of it. And everybody's doing it. There's no sense of portion size anymore. So I guess lack of education in the home and in schools also would be part of it.
You've mentioned several things there. One is portion sizes. Portion sizes have increased dramatically, and I think it's next week. I have a portion distortion quiz that I'm going to show you, and it really is amazing, eye-opening how portion sizes have changed from 1950 to 2005, I think, is when this particular slide set was made. It's really incredible. But you mentioned some other factors. We are so lucky in the United States. We have such a wide variety of foods that we can choose from, and we often want it right now. We're hungry. We're just going to grab it. And then there was one other thing. Oh, lack of education possibly is another factor because we're doing less of it in the schools, which might go along with what you were saying earlier about we're so busy that we're not taking the time to look at some of these things. So larger food portions and sizes. You mentioned more meals consumed outside the home, increased soda, pizza, and candy consumption. So even if you don't have a lot of fast food in Valdez, you probably still have access to candy, and you probably still have access to sweetened beverages. Soda pop is just one of those. And then the other thing, as we already mentioned, that there is declines in physical activity since 1970. The people who measure this, the researchers who measure this have followed that, and increase in sedentary lifestyles. So really the key to changing this around is you. And that's because you decide, you being the parent or you being the person who does the purchasing in your home, you decide what is eaten in your home. You buy most of the food. You who prepare most of the meals actually do the food preparation and of meals and of snacks. And also you have a lot of influence in how much activity is engaged in by the people in your home. If you are a child, you may have influence on some of those things that are happening. I know my children often, when we went to the grocery store together, had very loud I was going to use the word demands, but I don't know if that's quite right. They very vocally expressed what they wanted to have put in the basket for what we were going to eat. So that was a wonderful educational opportunity as a mom. But we have, all of us are working on setting the stage for what's going on in our families. And healthy eating and physical activity behaviors start in the home. And it's all, children often say that parents are their most respected role models. We don't always hear that from our children, but when researchers ask, that's what they find children are saying. It's also easier for people to make lifestyle changes when they have support in the home for those lifestyle changes. So including the whole family, or if you live alone or live with a roommate, including everybody in the home to make that lifestyle change can be very beneficial in making sure that it happens and that you stick to it. So when this slide says focus on energy balance, because that's what we're really trying to do, is balance what we bring in terms of nutrition, in terms of the calories that are along with that nutrition, and the nutrients that are involved in those calories. So for example, you might have a 100-calorie candy bar and a 100-calorie container of grapes, but when you look at the balance of those, even though the energy you get from those two sources is the same, it's 100 calories, the nutrition amount that you get from the grapes is much higher than what you get from the candy bar. Everybody follows that, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah. All right, and then we're looking at physical activity, increasing that, and then decreasing screen time. So the objectives for this program are to help us offer healthier foods in the home, enjoy smaller portions when we're at home or when we go out to eat at restaurants, to limit our foods and beverages that are high in fats and added sugar, to increase our family fun by encouraging or thinking about ideas where we can incorporate physical activity into that family time, and by reducing screen time. And there's a blank on the side because this was sent over the internet, and I had to take out some of the pictures to make sure that it would send. So sorry about that. It's not very picturesque. All right, so it's time for a stretch break. Everyone stand up.
We need to go.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. All right, take a deep breath in and reach arms overhead. Hold that for 10 to 15 seconds. Breathe normally while you're doing it. Take a big breath and exhale. Lower hands to your waist. Now we're going to inhale and bend forward at your waist. And let your head hang down as you're doing this for 10 to 20 seconds. And slowly stand up. This time, inhale and bring both arms behind you. Bring them up. Keep your head up this time and breathe normally. Let's hold that for about 10, 20 seconds. And then bring your arms back down to your sides. So if anyone needs to use the restroom, we'll take 2 minutes and do that, okay?
What? Have you received? It is work. You're in the room?
No.
What? You're in the room like all muscle.
Or what?
Like in the radon.
That was a corner.
You're gonna wear a radon?
Clinic.
Very.
Did you put your phone number down?
Yeah, but I didn't have a working pen, so it didn't really show up.
You need it when if you want the radon.
You know, the working pen.
She's my middle daughter. Yeah, so yeah, we're gonna go because we gotta go pick her up.
Yeah, there.
Let's see.
Where's my pen?
Oh. You have a bunch of them.
I can still work.
I have like 20 on my desk. I don't know why so many were open. I just like, I think it's like the lady before me just like opened an entire box and just scanned them all over. Why not you just have one? Why are you trying to and then have a whole box of them like in my desk?
It's funny. Well, stop. Good. I like these pens.
Thank you.
They're still black though.
And I don't. But I think it's
You like these pens though.
This year, did you see this job at the clinic?
the
Medical assistant certification preferred, but will train the right person.
There's a wall around you.
I think I didn't see that one. But I think I saw, I didn't see it in the newspaper, I saw it online.
Oil
okay.
tank
I
outside the
think it said
office
that you
with
had to
6
have
fence, like there's fire.
No,
Got
it
things
says
like
preferred, but will
scale
train the
fence
right
and like
person.
climb over it. So I'm like, what about this oil tank?
Go
It's like
online.
just kind of pink. And I was like,
And they also
what
need a
does that
clerk.
have to do with it?
Well, I mean, you'd still be able to get in through the door.
No,
If
the
they
door's
try,
on, they're
then the
being
days
the wall,
go
they're
by
boxing
like.
us in.
I like that.
go online.
Yes, me too.
Yeah, we'd have to
Oh,
clear,
that's the best way
like
to
through
do
there,
it.
there would be no, and our offices would be like, you know where my cubicle is? It would move wall, it would move this way, and then the wall.
Wait, what happened at John's office?
Same thing,
You're saying it would become.
a wall, and it would be an office space for somebody else.
The rest of our team is here.
Oh,
Yeah, we had 4 people from our team here. Just
Yeah.
saying, no big deal, guys. Well, you really shot up in the rankings there.
Me?
Yeah,
I didn't put them in for a few days.
I did actually hear you were hoarding them.
It's called sandbagging. It's a legitimate technique. It's a legitimate tactic. I'm not like that other guy though. With 104
Paul or
points.
something? Is it
Yeah.
Paul or?
No, Josh.
There's a Paul and a Josh and then you, right?
No, the Josh guy put in 104 points.
Just like one day.
Yeah.
Christelle was like, that Josh, that girl.
So what are the points now?
I was saying that Jocelyn girl, because everybody teased me about her, and I don't really care. She's not I don't think she's in our age group, is she?
She's 12.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I said either she's training for the Junior Olympics or she needs math lessons. I don't
Did you see
know.
the email that went out though?
Oh yeah,
What
that was
the
in.
email?
Oh, it was just.
That you can't count like PE and volleyball and
Yeah,
stuff.
to be honest about your points.
Mhm.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, you need to be honest.
Okay, this
Otherwise
is you.
it's not worth
That's
it.
me, that's John. This is, okay, so that's also my space. And there's the door. They want to build a wall, so here's the oil tank and the fence.
Right.
They want to build
You
a
should
wall.
text them.
Where's the copier room door?
Right.
Like,
Put it on the Facebook.
they want to make this a hall,
WTF,
Hold on.
I'm gonna help you event for you.
and then it would come like this, and the wall would be like this. Only it would cut off this part, like, the wall would be there. You're taking some of our cubicle space.
Wait, so you would be still here?
We'd still be here, only they're building a wall, and this would not be ours anymore.
So this would be theirs and you would just be here.
We would be here.
So it'd be like
You won't check it.
this. Would be you guys and then this would be yours and it would go through here.
Like that, yeah.
I see.
This is a lot more than 2 minutes.
Yeah.
She was on the phone with her husband.
She was what?
On the phone with her husband. She was.
So, anyway.
I don't care.
So
I'm
I
leaving at
was to the
5:30.
lady, because we don't, all that
Yeah.
stuff is
Well,
ours
that's what she's
too.
gonna take, the
Yeah,
last
would you
20
do that?
minutes have the
And
exact
then I'd
title
be
of
like,
this. I wonder
this
if
big
we
in
can
my
nicely
office.
say, is this what you're gonna go over? Because we got it.
Yeah.
I don't mind, it's easier than working out. I'll take the break.
Well, I'm going home, so I would like to.
Yeah, I'm going at 5:30 no matter what.
You guys are gonna go work out when you leave here?
Yeah, I am. I'm gonna eat first and then I'm gonna work out.
I might.
Guys are crazy.
The way things are going right now, until everybody calms down, we're gonna.
Yeah, it's like, we don't have time not to work out.
Yeah.
You have to.
Top students, toppers.
Yeah. Well, I gotta make up 10 points.
Yeah, a lot of it's the night too.
What?
What? Oh no, that guy in front of me has
He's in
10
college.
more points than me. Oh hey, there we
He was
are.
at the gym last night for like, what, 2.5, 3 hours?
Me?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I don't know what they're doing. Hello.
Who are you competing with? Anybody above them?
Josh Buckingham,
Yeah, pretty
I
much.
guess, is the new person ahead of him.
We can't hear you or see your slideshow.
Wait, so are you third right now then?
He
Yeah.
does the,
I think I'm only second. I think I'm first in my
Okay.
age group still.
Yeah.
How old
It's
are you?
not
Did you see me?
Ron, it's somebody
23.
like
Oh, me
separated
too. We're in the same
auto
age group.
start.
Is it a guy, girl, or is it all?
I don't
Oh
remember
yeah,
what
yeah, it's the
called.
same.
And his
The
wife
only
works
thing
at,
is it's gender specific under 18.
Oh, so
therapy
we are
office or
Yeah.
something.
What's your name?
Alex?
Yeah.
Oh okay.
She works at the physical.
I know, I moved down quite a
I
bit.
think so.
Okay,
She's
guys.
up there too.
I know I'm beating Sierra.
It's a good feeling.
All right,
Hello.
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 So we've had a longer break because we lost connection, but we got it back, so that's good. Don't have everybody's name yet, so would you go around the room and tell me who is who?
I'm Alex.
Raise your hand so I know who's talking. Hi, Alex.
Hello.
Hi.
I'm Sunny.
Also tell us all, is there something that you want out of this class? In fact, let me start. Sorry, Alex. I'm Julie, and the thing that I want to get out of this class is encouragement to do more exercise, and specifically I'm trying to get eventually I want to build up to 30 minutes of physical activity a day for 5 days a week. I'm not there, but I'm working on it. Okay, so Alex.
I want to eat better.
Okay.
Oh, I want tips on eating well.
And your name?
Sunny.
Sunny. Hi.
Sunny? Okay.
Tips
I'm
on eating
Sierra.
well. Sierra?
I'm Sierra, and I would just like to be more active and eat more fruits and vegetables, less meat.
Okay.
I'm Zach. Thing I want to get out of this class is getting out of this class. No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding. I'm mostly here for the points. Yeah, I'm kidding. I'm mostly here for the points. This is what I teach other people at work.
Oh, great.
But yeah, what I want to get out of the whole program is it's helped me get back into activity after I had surgery. So, and this is a really good professor. Thank you.
Okay, and you said you teach this at work, so what do you do?
I'm in the Coast Guard, and I'm just the unit health promotion coordinator. So anything health related comes out, I deal with people on the weight program and things like that. So I don't have a degree in anything like that. I just am kind of the hand for the person in the district who actually knows all this stuff. So I do teach other people about it.
Great. Great. Well, you can give us some pointers too. So wonderful. And in the back?
I'm Donna, and I guess like Zach, I'm here for a refresher, just to bring the thoughts to mind again and see if there's any tips that I don't know about. It's always good to be reminded.
And that's what a lot of it is just bringing it to, freshen it in our minds so that we remember what we're supposed to be doing, pulling it all together. And that's one of the advantages. And when Carl set this up, usually the program is done every week which is fine. He set it up every 2 weeks, and that'll be great too, because it's really about setting goals that are small enough that we can do them within that time period successfully, and then as we accomplish those, adding more so that we can do it. It's about lifestyle change, and that takes time to do and a lot of practice to do it. Whether it's a little lifestyle change or a lot that we want to do, or recovering from surgery, whatever kind of surgery it was. Okay, so we're going to do a brainstorm here. And a brainstorm means that everybody just throws out lots of ideas, and we're not going to question about those ideas, just throw out a lot of brainstorm, or a lot of ideas. What challenges are there for starting or maintaining healthier behaviors?
Getting out the door.
Getting out the door?
Giving up sugar.
Giving up sugar?
Finding time.
Say that one again.
Finding time to be able to do it.
Finding time to be able to do it.
Reprogramming your brain to learn that these things are good, they're good. Just moving around. Some people think, oh, that's boring, going for a run or doing something. They have to learn to find the good in that activity, and instead of trying to do that activity and lead their previous life of watching a whole season of House in one night on Netflix, they gotta see the trade-off where they can do one thing instead of the other.
Okay. What other challenges?
For me, one challenge is deciding not to eat something that I see that I go, oh, that looks good, even if I'm not hungry.
Oh man.
Right.
Oh yeah. Other challenges?
Not wanting to compromise.
How do you mean?
As far as your diet goes, I think some people say, oh well, I don't really want to. They just don't want to give up some things that they're already eating, or they don't think about it, and they go back into those old habits. They're not actively thinking about what is this doing to me, or what can this food do for me.
Okay. Other ideas on challenges?
I think eating is social in America. In the U.S., all events are centered around food, and usually it's not healthy food. So making healthy choices when you're in a social situation.
Yeah. Other challenges? Well, here are some. We mentioned some of these times. Sometimes being picky about what we eat, not knowing which snacks or foods are healthier. Sometimes we mentioned motivating to be physically active, motivating to eat well. Sometimes having the knowledge to do that is also important. Television can be a factor, or computers, because we're sitting watching them. You mentioned that. Treats at school or at daycare or at events in the community, because they're often, people think, oh, this is a time when they want to, this is when they're going to bring wonderful, they're going to use their abilities to make great cakes or baked goods or whatever it is. Use a lot of cream or butter in casserole dishes that they bring to a potluck. Not liking to exercise, that one speaks to me. The cost, sometimes when you look at the cost, it seems that things that are considered healthier may be more expensive. Time to plan meals, time to plan and go shopping for foods, not having the right clothes or equipment, scheduling conflicts to do these things, and also access to places to do physical activity, especially when outside conditions aren't very good and you need to have some kind of inside place where you can do physical activity. Large motor skills, I would say, if I was talking about young children, are all part of challenges. Did any of these bring up anything more that you thought of? Okay, so let's do some brainstorming. This isn't really brainstorming. How have you dealt with these challenges? What ideas do you have for trying to improve your food choices, increase your physical activity, deal with the challenges that we were just discussing?
I married her, so no. So surround yourself with so change your environment. Put yourself in contact or around people who have already made these changes, or who will help you.
So put yourself with people who will support you. Is that what you said?
Yeah. Yes. Yeah.
What other ideas?
Exercise with a friend
Okay.
or wife.
Oh yeah, make
Exercise.
it a commitment.
Partner.
Make a commitment. Are there two T's?
No, not in the middle.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. What other ideas? What are you laughing at? What
With a friend.
Make it a competition.
Yeah.
Like she's saying. Yeah.
Okay.
Certainly working right now.
Sunny, Alex, any ideas?
Don't buy anything that's bad for you, and then you won't have it at home to eat it.
You're a good idea.
Okay. Can I say don't buy unhealthy things?
Sure.
Is that okay?
No Oreos.
Yeah, so my husband, they're on sale last week. Cakes, cookies.
Oh, Ben and Jerry's was 2 for $5 a couple weeks ago. Yeah, that was dangerous.
Yeah, it's expensive.
Don't shop hungry.
Oh, that's important.
Yeah, grow your own food so you can never shop hungry.
You have to build the greenhouse first. Little garden in your house. Soil in my dining room.
Donna, anything to add? Anything more to add? My pen's dying.
Our pens never worked.
You can see this okay, right?
Yeah.
No, we can't.
No.
It's teeny.
Oh, I can see it.
Oh, I
Have to
can't.
squint.
You cannot see it very well? Is
I
it
cannot.
pixel? Oh, you know what? Let me do this. Sorry. Let's see. Oh, shoot. I did it the wrong way.
You should have brought her.
Oh,
Ah. She's lights out.
There we go. Ah!
Whoops.
Okay, there. Now can you see it?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, sorry about that. I forgot that it was on. Oh.
Okay, I have something to add.
Two remotes.
We're always on.
There are way too many remotes. Okay, so we've got some ideas here. Any other ideas? Remember
Keep
what
a
we're
list
trying
of
to
what
do?
you eat.
Make a list
Keep
of
a
what
list
you
of
eat.
what
Oh,
eat.
yes. Okay, now, am I getting too low here on this board?
Food blog.
Okay.
Yeah.
Not yet.
Okay. Okay. Other things, other ideas, any of them? Somebody mentioned sugar earlier. Is there anything that we can do for that? Any ideas that you've thought about for, other than avoiding Ben and Jerry sales?
Don't eat foods that have added sugar. So if you have so if you have something, you eat an apple, that's all right, or you eat an orange, that's okay. Those are naturally sweet, but chances are if you're going to eat a candy bar, it's probably going to have way too much. It's going to have way more sugar.
But on the other hand, if you have a sweet tooth, I think, and you've had a good day, you can reward yourself with a little bit of something at night.
Switch to dark
Okay,
chocolate.
so two ideas I'm hearing here. One is think whole foods, like apples or oranges, as opposed to something that's pre-prepared, like a candy bar. Okay, is that what you were getting at, Zach?
Yes.
Okay, so whole foods. And then the other one is consider not completely wiping out everything that you know is really scrumptious and yummy, and but using just a little bit of it in a day,
Right.
Or so make it a sometimes maybe a rewarding kind of thing rather than an all the time food. Is that what you're saying, Donna?
Yes,
I've
it
got to
is.
figure out how to put it in a few words.
Small, sweet rewards.
Sweet rewards sometimes. Oops, yeah, sweet. Okay. Anything else? If I'm looking over to the side, I'm looking at you, even though it doesn't look like I'm looking at you. So sorry about that. Well, I think you guys have lots of good ideas. And the handouts that you have in front of you have more ideas on things that you can do to eat well, and which is energy in, taking energy in, and moving more, which is the energy out part. So just kind of skimming over these, anything that catches your eye is something that you hadn't thought of, or that maybe you haven't thought of in a long time.
Don't take seconds, that's a good one.
Some of these are really practical things. I think someone already mentioned eat before you go grocery shopping, something around with that, so that you're not hungry when you go into the grocery store, because maybe the Ben and Jerry's on sale won't sound as good if you're full. No guarantee.
It's always
on
going
that.
to sound good.
Making a grocery list before you shop and trying to stick to that, because assumably it's going to be healthy foods, and sticking to that grocery list. Drinking more water, or possibly a low-fat milk, whether it's a dairy or non-dairy milk, over sugary sodas or other sugary drinks. About 3/4 of the way down the first column on the eating well, energy in part, don't skip breakfast. Breakfast is really important, and it's a great way to start the day. Of course, you can choose things that are healthier or not healthier, but research really shows that eating breakfast is very important for a healthy lifestyle and for keeping a good weight. Anything else that catches people's eye? somebody mentioned, community events, I think it was you, Sunny, that they're always around food, and that's very true. Tradition, birthday parties have birthday cake, something sweet. Potlucks, people bring their specialty food items, which tend to be on the higher fat and sugar side oftentimes. So maybe being the one who brings something a little healthier to those events, or something that you know that you can eat, might help with that. Also, changing some of those things around in your mindset or your family's mindset. Instead of making a birthday about the cake, maybe that's the one day in the year where the whole family does something activity related instead. Now, is it going to be easy to get the whole family on board doing that? Maybe not. But maybe it also is a great way to start a new tradition that works for your family. And then moving more, there's some ideas on that one as well. But what I also want to do, or to think about, have you think about, is setting goals to decide what it is that you want to have happen in the next 2 weeks. So we're going to take a moment and look at, oh, I didn't put that on here. Okay. And look at goals. Have any of you done goal setting before? Yeah.
Yes.
What kind of goal setting have you done?
Everything from short-term career goals, long-term of the same, doing activity and general health goals, short-term and long-term.
Okay.
And then we're doing it for the event that's going on now.
Are
we
you
have the
doing
option
goals?
to. Yeah, you have the option to set your own goals.
How are they doing that? What kind of format are they using for those goal setting? That goal setting?
You can plug them in online in your own profile, and I believe it's up to you what you choose or what you put in there, and then you can check them off as you've completed them.
Okay. Well, what I'm trying to get at, and maybe I'll have Carl send me that because I'm not familiar with what it is that they're doing, but there are a couple of different systems for setting goals, and what they find when we went around the room and introduced ourselves, we all said something that we want to do, but they were all pretty general. We want to do more exercise. We want to eat healthier, whatever it was that we said. So what I want to do is talk a few minutes about how can we make those goals things that are more attainable. So we use the acronym SMART, and you may be familiar with this. So it stands for goals need to be specific, they need to be measurable, they need to be attainable, they need to be realistic for you, and they need to be time-based. Okay? So are you guys familiar with this? Is this something you're familiar with, or is this new stuff? Okay. So let's think about what we want. I'm seeing most of you nod your heads, so I think we can do this a little bit quickly. So when we're doing this, so for example, I want to increase my exercise, and I kind of started to do that with what I gave you. So my specific thing is I want to increase my exercise, but that's pretty broad. So I can say that I want to specifically increase exercise, make it measurable, 30 minutes, time-based. I'll do it 2 times this week because thinking about my schedule, the fact that I really don't like to do exercise, that might make it more doable. And in fact, I wasn't specific enough up here. When I said exercise, what do I mean by that? I'm going to do a dance aerobic tape, which I already have that tape. I'm going to do it for 30 minutes, so that's measurable. Time-based, I'm going to do it 2 times within this week. Is it attainable? Is it something I can do? I should be able to, in fact, if I want to make it more time-based, I would say specifically I'm going to do it after I get home from work at 5 o'clock on Tuesday and Thursday, because then I'm setting it in my mind, or writing it down is even better. I think, Donna, you mentioned writing down food. It's also important to write down your goals, whether you do it on your phone or on a piece of paper, so that you remember, because memory doesn't always work like you want. So Tuesday and Thursday at 5 o'clock. That is attainable. I can do it. Is it realistic? I have the dance DVD. I have a space to do it. I have a time. I should be able to do it. I don't have any conflicts. Do I want to do it? That's also important. I mean, yes, I should do it, but do I want to do it? That's huge in terms of motivating myself. Yeah, it's realistic. I can do this. So Tuesday and Thursday at 5 o'clock, well, not Thursday. Yeah, next week I could. Tuesday and Thursday, because I don't have this class, I can do that at 5 o'clock for a half an hour. So that's what it means when we're looking at specific, measurable, attainable, realistic, and time-oriented. Anybody have ideas of how the goals that you've mentioned you could make, you could set this way, something for the next week and a half? That was a big sigh. Any volunteers?
Sure.
Okay.
So my goal for this whole healthier you thing is I wanted to lose 10 pounds.
Okay.
It's pretty attainable for me. I've obviously weighed 10 pounds less before. In the recent history, it's very measurable because it's easy. You weigh yourself
Although
6 times a day.
I'm going to hold you up here, Zach, though. That's your overall goal. That's great,
Okay.
and it does have time frames and everything with it. So what I'd like you to think about is, what are you going to do between now and 2 weeks from now? So 2 Thursdays from now, what are you going to do in this time period that works toward your overarching goal of 10 pounds? Something measurable, something attainable, something you can do within this 2-week time period.
Well, I think I could budget in, an average of an hour and a half at least of exercise a day. That'll keep me busy.
40 minutes.
Hour and 40 minutes. That way I get all the points, right?
You could do 20, you wouldn't care.
Yeah, 20.
Yeah. Okay, so your plan is to do that every day, correct?
Yeah, it's very.
Monday?
I think that's attainable, and it's as far as the time goes right now. I don't. We're just waiting to leave Valdez. I'm waiting on orders, so I don't really have any other activities. I don't really have any other things going on. So that's definitely attainable and realistic.
Do you have
And there's there's several things. We can go hiking around here. I go to there's the gym's 200 yards from my house, and yeah. What else we do? We gotta take care of some dogs in the next couple of weeks. That'll keep us busy.
Oh, so the dogs might really make it even more realistic.
Yeah, then I have to. Making a
Okay.
commitment, yeah.
And is this something you've done before, is exercised every day? I assume with the Coast Guard you have to exercise regularly.
Funny enough, no, we don't. But which is sad, I think. Yeah, some people do, but most coasties don't. But yeah, I've done this before.
Okay, so you know for you that this is something that's realistic.
Yeah.
Okay.
Definitely.
Yeah, because for some people, I would say you may want to set your goal at 4 days a week or 5 days for each week, 10 days total out of the whole 2 weeks, because what if a snowstorm comes and it makes it impossible for you to walk outside? But you've covered that by saying there's a gym you can go to if you can't do the other. Or if you get sick, you won't be able to make your goal because you've been sick. Whereas if you said 5 days out of a 7-day period, then if you have 2 days where you can't, for some reason, you still made your goal. But you can always say, oh, I made it 7 days, and even though I only set 5 days, and pat yourself on the back even more because you did more than what you had set your goal to be. So making it realistic in that way, thinking about possible difficulties is always important. Anything? So that sounds good, okay? To you. I mean, this sounds good to you, what you can do.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. Next person? If you say your goals out loud, it makes it more set in your brain that this is your goal that you need to accomplish. So come on, who's going to be brave?
Anybody trying to eat a specific number of fruits and veggies a day? Yeah. Food log? Anybody?
No.
And it doesn't have to be an everyday kind of thing. It could be something as simple as I'm not going to eat before I go to the grocery store, or I am going to eat before I go to the grocery store. Or when I go to the grocery store, on Thursday or on Saturday, I'm going to purchase fruits and vegetables, and I'm going to prep my vegetables when I get home so that I have something quick to eat that's ready to go. So it doesn't have to be a big goal, but just something that helps you toward what your overarching goal is for being in this Healthier You program. Any volunteers? Sunny and Alex,
eating
you
breakfast.
could be eating breakfast.
Yeah.
Is that your
Set an
goal?
alarm. Yeah. You can set an
Okay,
alarm, wake up. Make sure you have the food set out. Boiled eggs, cereal.
Okay. Yeah. So setting an alarm would help make it more realistic. Having foods prepared the night before so that you can have breakfast on the go. Every day? Or which days?
Every day.
Every day? Okay.
Every day.
All right. And it sounds like you've already thought about different foods that would be good for breakfast too. You have a protein source. Anything else that you would have with that?
You have fruit,
Okay.
yogurt.
Fruit, yogurt, eggs, or vary it. Have a boiled egg one day, yogurt and some fruit another day.
Mm-hmm.
Great. Okay. Anybody else? No takers? Okay. Well, that was a way for you to just start thinking about what goals you might want to start setting for yourself in order to make it to your large goal for being in the Healthier You program. So you have your handout. The next program is going to be in 2 weeks. It'll be on February 20th, same time, 4 o'clock. This time we'll just go through it. The next goal is maintaining a healthy weight, looking at the energy balance equation, and we'll talk about portions and how distorted they have become over the past several years, actually from the 50s to now. We'll talk about fitting in daily physical activity, and again, tips to eat well and move more. And we'll talk a little bit more about the body mass index. Is there anything specific that you want brought up in these programs? Okay. Sound quality come through okay?
Yes.
Okay. And I can hear all of you really well, better than I did on Saturday for the people who were here. Even Donna in the back of the room, your voice came through very well. done a little bit early, and that's great. So thank you very much for coming this evening. What's the weather like in Valdez today?
Cool. It's cool.
It's clear and cold, yeah.
Partly cloudy.
How cool is cold?
Like 20.
Yeah, 10 to 20. And going, you know.
Shifting, yeah.
She
That's what I was-
Their mind's not cold.
I'm looking outside. It was snowing a minute ago, but it's just a dusting, and it looks like it's stopped. They're predicting high winds for the valley. Not fun, but
We're
okay.
supposed to have
So,
high winds too.
oh,
Oh, yeah.
oh, fun.
Do
they have any new?
Talking about using Amber to test your fat content.
Oh.
I just gotta put it on here for next year.
Yeah, I don't know what it was called. Maybe she would know.
What?
We were talking in class today about some sort of a machine that can test your body fat a whole lot more accurately than.
Hydro testing?
No, it's not hydro testing.
Didn't have water
Calipers?
involved with it.
Calipers?
No. It was something that you got into.
Oh, that's air pressure
Air
testing.
pressure.
Yeah, it's an air pressure tester. Same thing as hydro testing,
What's it called? Air pressure tester?
probably. Or some kind of, well, I guess I'd be an addict, but that's just the name of it.
Do
I
they
don't
have
know.
it around? Do they have one in Valdez?
We don't have it here.
No.
They have it in Anchorage, and we assume it's very costly.
Yeah, we wanted to try
I
to
would
get one.
assume that. Well, it's not that.
A mobile unit.
Drive it down.
Yeah, it's. I can't think of it.
We have the power of the internet.
Put in air pressure tester and maybe you can figure it out.
Yeah.
Body fat air tester.
Okay. Well, it's been fun. Good luck, Zach, finding that.
Thank you, Julie.